Hey, Becoming Me. I am so excited to introduce you to my warrior friend, Lisa. Lisa, welcome to Becoming Me.
Thank you so much for having me on, Emily. I'm really excited.
Well, I am so honored to have you with us today. I'm encouraged by you. And for those who are watching and listening to your story today, this is a fun connection. Not a stranger to Becoming Me.TV. Bob Wheatley introduced us. And so we've shared his story, a warrior conversation with him. And the second that he messaged me and said, "You've got to meet Lisa," I was like, "Yes, I do. Introduce us, please." And I'm just encouraged and inspired by you ever since that introduction. So thank you. I'm glad you're here. And I would love for you to just take a moment for those who are new friends to you. Maybe they haven't been introduced to you yet. Like, who is Lisa?
Who is Lisa? I am a mom. I'm a mom of four wonderful kids here on Earth. They ages just turned 10, 7. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I have a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old now. We all just had birthdays. And then I have an 11-year-old. And I also have an angel in heaven. And so I'm a mom of 5. I am a business owner. I own a fitness business here in Northern California. And I love connecting with people. I love sharing my story, even though it's not an easy story to share sometimes, because I feel like being vulnerable really connects people and helps people not feel so alone. And so I'm really grateful to be on this podcast and sharing my story today.
Well, we are grateful for you sharing your story. And I agree. When we do share our stories, it does help not only ourselves, but other people feel like we're not alone and somebody else is experiencing this, and tools for the journey. So I'm excited to go into your journey and hear what you have to share with us, and then how we can become who God made us to be as well. And so right now, Lisa, I would love for us to just pause and for you to unpack your story, your journey, what has made you who you are today.
Thank you again for this opportunity. It has been a journey, and I, grew up really active, doing everything and anything physical. And I always had this dream of opening up a studio to help people do that as well, just kind of really work through things. But I didn't know how big that would be later in life. And what I mean by that is I opened up the fitness studio I own in 2009, and it was a place for people to come together and work out and build community. And in 2011, I became pregnant for the first time with twin boys. My husband and I were married young, and we struggled a bit to have kids. And so felt super blessed to be carrying these twin boys. I just opened this business that I loved. I was really pumped for the future. And I felt like we had been through the hard work of trying to get pregnant and suffering some losses and just that struggle. And we made it through the first trimester and the second trimester and the third, and fully prepared to bring these boys home. And my water broke in the third trimester. We rushed to the hospital, and the boys were healthy. But when my water broke, one of the boys suffered an umbilical cord accident, and he passed away a day after they were born. And so life changed in an instant. I went from being this go-getter, nothing in life was going to stop me, to everything looked different. I'd never suffered any type of loss like this. I had lost my grandpa a year before, but nothing that just changed the whole trajectory of where I saw life headed. And it's that fork in the road moment that I think we all have. And there's certain forks in the road that are in our control in some way, what schools we choose to go to, what jobs we choose to take, or sometimes don't even get, but that stuff is in our control. And this felt so out of my control that I ended up through a long journey, learning how to give it up to, that not everything is in our human control. And when you suffer a loss of a child, and especially how it went down for us, because we were brand new parents. We had a son in the NICU who our survivor, who's incredible. He's 11. He's this amazing kid, but he was in the hospital for weeks after we had suffered the loss of his brother. And so it was just a whirlwind of emotions that I'd never experienced and that were all happening at the same time. And it was really hard to find my footing for a long time. It was grief it was grief like I didn't know. But looking back on that was 11 years ago. And looking back on it, where I am now, I know how many blessings are in the journey. I know that you can survive really, really great loss. And I know that you can come out a stronger, more empathetic, better human for it. And I feel like who I am now is still who I was before, but with a lot more depth. And I'm really, really grateful for all of the lessons that learned along the way and everything that I have now, including a better sense of how, we can't do this alone. We can't do this life alone.
Yeah, no, that is so powerful. And thank you for just your courage and sharing the depths of your pain and what you've journeyed through with us, because so many have and are walking through the journey that you experienced, and how you shared at the very beginning, you're not alone in our pain and in our struggle. And so you courageously sharing your pain is encouraging and empowering other people too. So thank you. It's not lost on me that that's not easy to share. So thank you for sharing that today. And, I'm curious because we're newer friends, right? And we're friends on Instagram. And so do you drink coffee, or are you a coffee drinker?
I'm a huge coffee drinker.
Yes. Great. Well, our mutual friend, Bob, is not a coffee drinker. So,
Actually, I have one right here.
okay. What's your coffee order?
I'm embarrassed to say it, but I'll say it. I teach a 6 a.m. spin class. And so I usually get a cold brew with 2 added shots in it, 2 espresso shots, and a little splash of milk. But I do. And I even said in class today, I asked everybody to raise their hand if they were coffee drinkers before class. I can't even tell you how many people are not coffee drinkers before, which blows my mind. It's
like one of the first things I do in the morning is, and I know on the gut health side of things and the researching, that's not the best thing, but I love coffee first thing in the morning. It's crazy. I'm a fan.
I always say, if something brings you joy, I mean, with all of the fitness programs I coach, and sometimes it's, some elimination type stuff, which I'm not a huge fan of, but whenever it says eliminate coffee, the first thing I say to everybody is, if this brings you joy, do not eliminate coffee.
Thank you.
Because,
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah. There you go.
I embrace that. Thank you. Well, I don't have my coffee with me right now because I've already had 3 cups today. So I know, but if you were having an iced cup of coffee with that extra shot of espresso, and you were sitting down maybe after spin class, talking with another warrior on their own becoming journey, what would you say to encourage them?
This is a great question. I actually had something like this happen a few months ago. A client of mine, a longtime client of mine, lost her partner of 10 years to a sudden heart attack. And she's older than I am. And, you think that with age, we have more wisdom sometimes than people younger than us. And I thought it was I found it fascinating. She came into the studio and she said to me, "How did you do this?" And I said, "How did I do what?" And she said, "How did you grieve?" And I really appreciated the question. And I told her I appreciated the question because I think that is one of the first things about grief is being able to communicate to somebody else, to either ask a question about it or communicate how you're feeling. Because if those emotions get stuck inside, nothing good happens with them. But if you're able to communicate out that you're struggling and that you need some help. And there's going to be somebody that will put their hand out and lead the way. And we talked about how everybody's grief journeys look different. You know, there's similar emotions to each grief journey, but even those will feel different and happen at different times throughout the journey. But I think the most important thing in what I told her is we all have different toolboxes for grief. And my toolbox is going to be different than hers. It's going to be different than yours or anybody listening. And, you know, we might have similar things, but for example, in my grief toolbox over the years, I know that movement is a huge part of it. I know that moving through the emotions has really, really helped me, taking care of my body, mind, and spirit. So, you know, mindfulness, faith, a huge faith walk. There are certain things in my toolbox that I know I can always go back to when life starts to feel, you know, a little off kilter again. And so finding one thing you can put in your toolbox is the first step, I think, in a beginning grief journey. And that's what we talked about, was building her toolbox. And I encouraged her. She was working out that day and I encouraged her to keep coming. You know, it gets really hard to get up and get out of bed and be somewhere that you have to be and move your body, but it's really important to stick to a schedule or to something that you know brings you joy when life doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, no, that is such powerful words of wisdom, and really identifying what's in your toolbox and how to take that step forward consistently. You know, Lisa, if somebody was listening to your story today and they wanted to connect with you, because I know that you have resources and you're leveraging your voice and your life to really partner with people. So how could people connect with you and even learn more about your journey?
And let's see, I have a website. It is livefitwithlisa.com, livefitwithlisa.com. And that has a little bit more of my story there. You can connect with me through there. You can also DM me on Instagram, which it's at Lisa Herrington. Herrington is with an E, a little complicated, H-E, not H-A. And then I also wrote a book a while back. It was an itty bitty book on grief. And I wanted something very short because when we were going through it, I did not have the capacity to read long things. I wanted something that was tangible and helpful. And so I ended up writing, it's really a handbook for families or friends who are supporting somebody through their grief walk. And the goal was to put these books in the hospital where we were. We joined Sharing Parents, which is this incredible group for families who have lost babies from conception to 8 months old. It's all over the country, but they had a library. Our group had a library, and I wanted the books there because it was just like something easy for the person who was grieving to grab and give to the people that loved them and didn't know how to help, and say, I don't have the energy to tell you what I need, but can you please read this? Yeah. So that's available on Amazon. It's also available through my website. And that's a really great resource. Quick read, I promise.
No, that's amazing. I mean, thank you for sharing that. And y'all, we will have all the links in the show notes. You can easily click them, connect with Lisa, buy her book, follow her on Instagram, all the things. But Lisa, as we're wrapping up your Becoming story today, is there any final thing that you would want to share with another warrior friend?
You know, I think going back to the toolbox, a couple things: finding your anchor, whether it's a moment, if it's a quote, if it's something that can bring you back to that space where you need to be to take the next step. That's a huge toolbox piece that all of us are capable of finding. That feeling that brings you there, and that's faith. That's having faith in, that there's so much more, and that God is with you in the hardest times. So that's something that I think is really important to share and mention. And also that just looking at life now and raising these 4 really energetic children who are incredible and amazing. And I'm so lucky to get to, parent them, and also being sad for our journey to parenthood and having lost our son right out of the gates.
Hmm.
And that those two feelings can live in the same moment. You can have the joy, and you can have the laughter and the love and the light. And then you can also in your heart hold the sadness. And it's perfectly fine for those two to exist together, to dance together, because that's life. That's life. The highs, the lows, the goods, the bads, experiencing all of them is life.
Yeah. No, very beautifully said. My coach and I are talking through what it means to be a warrior who weeps, and holding both of those, right? You can
I
be a
love that
warrior who
so much.
weeps. Yeah. And it's contradicting emotions, but they do, like, we can be strong and weep for things at the same time. So, yeah.
I love that so
Yeah.
much. Oh, thank you for sharing that with me. Good.
Thank you for sharing the gift of you with us. Truly, what an honor. You encourage me deeply. And I'm just cheering you on big time as you're becoming you, Lisa. Thank you for being here today.
And keep doing what you do. It's amazing.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.
Appreciate you.